Namaste, everybody. Very sorry for this delay. We were having some technical issues at my end, probably with my computer or my Wi-Fi network. So we got really delayed, and we had to keep our very special guest for today, Chandana ji, waiting. But without further ado, I would like to invite someone who I've known very closely for almost more than a decade. I've had the honor and pleasure of working with her on numerous concerts. We also have worked together in the same band called Mumbai Fusic, and I remember, she had just moved to Mumbai, I think, from Bangalore a few years ago, and we happened to, to be introduced by Ustad Tawfiq Qureshi Bhai, who, introduced us. So we could, work together. So I feel very privileged and honored that today, one of the finest vocalists from India. I mean, someone who's been, so has such a vast repertoire of, different genres that she can represent in spite of having such wonderful roots in Carnatic music. And I would like to invite none other than Chandana Balaji on the show in the green room. Just give me a minute so I can unmute her. We're still struggling with technology and all that. So,
Thank you
namaste,
very much.
namaste, Chandana ji. Thank you so much for joining us. And sorry for this delay. We are really thrilled to have you.
Thank you so much. And it's indeed my honor and privilege for me also to be invited by a musician like you. I would like to, sing a little bit and then maybe we can start talking. There's a lot that I remember from our journey, which started off with music. And there is lots that I need to talk, but I think we'll sing a little bit again.
Sure. We're looking forward to listening to you, and I'm just going to pin your video. So just give me a minute.
So the first composition I'm singing is an invocation to the Lord, and it's called Bhagavanta Diye Charane. It's something that I learned when I was very small, almost when I was in school, and it's a beautiful composition. It's based on Bhattiyar, and yeah, I hope you all like it. Bhagavan Tvadiya Charane Shraddhanata Namamaha Bhagavan Tvadiya Charane Shraddhanata Namamaha Shraddhanata Namamaha Shraddhanata Namamaha Sarvasya asya jagatah utpadakastvameva Sarvasya asya jagatah utpadakastvameva lokasya asya mahatah sampalakastvameva vidhina chakena isha विधिनाचकेन ईशा भगवन्तम् अर्चयामः भगवन्तम् अर्चयामः भगवन् त्वदीय चरणे श्रद्धानता नमः श्रद्धा नता नमः श्रद्धा नता नमः श्रद्धा नता नमः. The next composition that I want to sing is it's actually a Carnatic classical composition written by Saint Tyagaraja. I have some really wonderful memories associated with this composition because this was one of the compositions that we used to sing in the band called Fusic. It was like the very first, I think the second band that I actually started performing with. The first time I performed with a band was actually with Tawfiq Bhai, and the second band that I performed with was Fusic, and we used to have a lot of fun doing this composition. Of course, we used to present it much faster, but since this is more of an unplugged and there's no instrumentation, I'm going to sing it a little slower than it usually is sung. सरस सामदान भेद दंड चतुर 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 साठी दैवमेव ते ब्रोववे सरस सामदान भेद दंड चतुर साठी दैवमेव ते ब्रोववे सरस सामदान. परमशाम्भवा ग्रेसरुण्डनूचु परमशाम्भवा ग्रेसरुण्डनूचु परमशाम्भवा ग्रेसरुण्डनूचु परमशाम्भवा ग्रेसरुण्डनूचु పలుకు రావణుడు తెలియలేకపోయే పలుకు రావణుడు తెలియలేకపోయే పలుకు రావణుడు తెలియలేకపోయే పలుకు రావణుడు తెలియలేకపోయే సరస సామదాన భేద దండ చతుర సటి దైవమివ తే బ్రోవవే సరస సామదాన. హితవు మాటలంతో హితవు మాటలంతో బాగా పల్కితివి హితవు మాటలంతో బాగా పల్కితివి హితవు మాటలంతో బాగా పల్కితివి హితవు మాటలంతో బాగా పల్కితివి హితవు మాటలతో బాగా పల్కితివి హితవు మాటలతో బాగా పల్కితివి సతముగానయోధ్య నిచ్చెనంటివి సతముగానయోధ్య నిచ్చెనంటివి. నట సహోదరుని రాజు చేసిరాక నట సహోదరుని రాజు చేసిరాక నట సహోదరుని రాజు చేసిరాక నట సహోదరుని రాజు చేసిరాక హతము చేసిదేవి త్యాగరాజనూత హతము చేసిదేవి త్యాగరాజనూత अद मुझे दी देवी त्यागराजनूत अद मुझे दी देवी त्यागराजनूत सरस सामदान वेदनंद चतुरासाठी दैवन उवरे ब्रोव ते सरस सामदान. So that was a Carnatic classical composition. It was taught to me by my father, Dr. S. Nataraja-Murthy, who is a violinist and who was my first guru. When I moved to Bombay, I actually started dabbling with kind of different genres of music just by kind of listening to them and trying to imitate. And just a few years ago, actually, I came across a wonderful composition sung by Master Salim. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it is his father's composition, but he sang it. And it's a couplet of Bulle Shah's. It was two couplets of Bulle Shah's composition, and somehow that really touched my heart so much that I wanted to learn it and try and present it exactly the way Master Salim had sung it. But we all have this creative bug within us, which just our manodharma just starts acting. And so here is a slightly, if I can use the word improvised, a slightly different version of from what Master Salim said. I've tried to adhere to the script, but then there are some deviations that happen here and there. This is called Rammavala Charaka. I'm sure most of you all must have heard it. And this is two couplets from Bulle Shah. Rammavala Charaka Rammavala Charaka te dukha diya puniya हाँ मैं जो कती जवानी मोहन पैना दुनिया कत सकनी ना बल लिए कुड़िए कत सकनी ना कत सकनी ना कत सकनी ना बल लिए कुड़िए नी तेरे पूनिया दी परियो चिंगारी मेरे दिल विचू उठ दिए मेरे दिल विचू हाँ Rammavala Charaka मक्के गया गल मुकदी नहीं हो मक्के गया गल मुकदी नहीं हो सो सो जुम्मा पड़े गंगा गया गल मुकदी नहीं हो गंगा गया गल मुकदी नहीं हो पावे सो सो गोते खइए आ बुल्ले 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 गलतायो मुकदे हाँ बुल्ले शाह गलतायो मुकदे जद मैनू दिलों गवैये हाँ बुल्ले शाह गलतायो मुकदे जद मैनू दिलों गवैये. So that is a composition of couplets of Bulle Shah, composed by and sung by Master Salim sir. So these were the compositions that I wanted to kind of sing to you all and share with you all.
Thank you so much, Chandana ji. This was such a wonderful start and such a wonderful rendition of all these compositions. Absolutely incredible. So much of versatility and so many different genres in 15 minutes. So just amazing. Is there anything else you would like to shortly present for us before we start our conversation? Because people, just are so much in love with your music and your voice. They've all been writing like, if you could sing a little more, so maybe 2-3 minutes of something else that you would like to perform for all of us.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. So there is this raga called Niroshtha in the Carnatic discipline. It's called Niroshtha because Niroshtha means where the lips don't meet. So this raga originally has notes which do not have ma and pa, because ma and pa are the only notes where the lips meet. So this is actually sa re ga dha ni sa sa ni da ga re sa. So this raga was actually created by Mr. Bhagavatarji. And I was just singing this raga, and one day accidentally I sang the minor seventh, the sa re ga da ni sa sa ni da ga re sa, the minor six. The thing and the colors that were coming out of it, and so I thought I should maybe just write something. And I then was thinking what I should call it, because it doesn't have both the ma and the pa. Then I remembered that there is a beautiful composition of Shakti which I was so inspired by, which is called Ma No Pa. So I thought I'll call this No Ma No Pa. So this is No Ma No Pa. So for now I'll mute both the. No, I can't use that. Okay. So I'm muting all ma, pa, and me. Sani dani 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 daga dani 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 daga daga ri gari dani 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 ga dani dani gari dani daga re ne daga ri ne da dani re ga daga re gari ne da 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 ri re ga da ga dani dani re ne da dani re ga daga re ga re ne daga ri ni daga ri sani sa gari sani dani re ga ga da ga ri sari ga dani sa sani da gari sa sari ga dani sa sani da gari sa sari ga dani sa sani da gari sa sati sari ga dani sa sani da gari sa sari ga dani sa sani da gari sa sari ga dani sa sani da gari sa sati eka sari ga dani sa sani da gari sa sari ga dani sa sani da gari sa sari ga dani sa sani da gari sa sati eka ga da re re ga re ga re ne da da dani dani re ga re ni dani da 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 ga dani 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 da 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 gari gari dani da ga ri sa da da ri dani da re ga ri dani da re ga ri dani da ga ri dani ga ri dani da re re da 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 re re ga ri re ga ri re ga ri dani da re ga ri dani da re ga ri dani da re 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 ga ri dani da re ga da 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 dani da 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 ga ri dani 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 da ri dani da re da re ga ri ga da da dani 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 da dani 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 da dani 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 da dani dani te sa da dani 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 ni dani da dani dani di dani ga dani dani di dani da dani 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 ga di dani 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 ga di dani da 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 di di da 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 di ga di dani 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 da da dani dani da dani da ga di di sari ga dani da dani da ga ri da sari ga dani da dani da ga ri da sari ga dani da dani da ga ri da sari sari ga dani da dani da ga ri da sari ga dani da dani da ga ri da sari ga dani sari da ga ri da sari dekka sari ga dani da dani da ga ri da sari ga dani da dani da ga ri da sari ga dani da dani da ga ri da sari dekka ga da da re da da ri ga ri sari da ri sa no ma no pa.
Wow, wow, wow. Kya baat hai. Amazing, amazing, as always. Kya baat hai. Thank you so much. I mean, for all this wonderful music and wonderful singing, Chandana ji. It's such a pleasure again to have you. Again, I would like to apologize to all for the delay we had today in starting this whole session because of the technical difficulties, but I'm sure you all have forgotten about it with all this wonderful music that you heard from Chandana ji. So we would like to start this conversation now about her journey in music, and I would like to ask her, how this whole thing began, what drew her to music, and how did it all start. So I'll let you walk us through this journey, Chandana ji.
Um, so basically, I belong to a family of musicians. My dad is a violinist. My mother is not a trained singer, but she sings beautifully. And my grandfather is a composer, and he was a singer himself. And the whole family, actually, my brother, my father's brothers, and my uncles, and they all basically they are into music in some way or the other. They also write a lot of poetry, and so I guess it was in my blood, and I started singing pretty young also. Maybe when I was about 3 years or 4 years old. My father had just started, teaching me small compositions, small songs from the Carnatic tradition, and he plays the violin. So he would just play the violin and kind of repeat the, swaras and stuff like that. So I think when I was about 7.5, 8 years old, he put me into the traditional disciplines sort of learning. Most of the learning actually happened in a very indisciplined way, I must say, because I was just playing around. But I think when I was 8, 9 years old, he actually put me into this traditional learning, and the practice once it began, it was a very systematic, very very like a dedicated discipline kind of practice. I remember even when I was in standard 4 and 5, he used to wake us up, both me and my sister, who's 5 years older to me. So he used to wake us up at 4:30 in the mornings, and we would be made to sing till 7:30, and then we would get ready and go to school and stuff like that. And I remember looking for alibis every time to miss practice. So one day it would be stomach ache, one day it would be something else and something else. But yes, there came a time when I kind of realized that music was a very significant part of my identity. And also, I kind of realized, and maybe when I was probably 11, 12 years old, that the way I could get engrossed in music, the way I could just get lost in music, just listening to somebody sing, or even just while I was singing, I couldn't do that with anything else. And so after that, nobody really had to force me to practice or ask me to practice. It just came very naturally. I was very eager also to just come home from school and start singing. And that's how the journey began. And then I started learning from Srimati Rajamma Murthy ma'am, and then from R.K. Srikantan sir, and now currently from H.S. Sudhindra sir. And then the learning has just been going on. And I've had a very supportive school as well. The school that I went to, my principal sir and my teacher, music teacher, Mr. Lakshmi Keshwa sir, both of them were very supportive and encouraging. And most of the time I was actually out of school singing and, performing and stuff like that than actually in the classes. But they were extremely encouraging. And if I don't have stage fright at all, it is because at a very young age, they made me sing to larger groups of people and stuff like that. So I owe a great deal to a lot of people like that.
You were born in Bangalore, is it? I know your mother tongue is Telugu, and
Right.
you
Yeah.
probably born and raised in Bangalore, so that's Kannada.
Yeah.
And then you moved to
Correct.
Mumbai, that's Marathi. So there lot of crossovers of lot of cultures there.
Yeah. So yeah, I was born, I mean, I belong to a Telugu family, and my father was also working in ISRO. So he was actually placed in Sriharikota, Satish Dhawan Space Center. So for the first 5 years of my life, I was there, and that's mostly like an island, basically, like very detached from the rest of the country. Actually, it was just one bridge which was connecting it from the rest of the country. So my father chose to move to Bangalore when there was a bunch of people who were being transferred. So he chose to get transferred to Bangalore, and he was placed in ISRO in Bangalore, and that's how we were able to get more exposure to music. And yeah, that's when Kannada became. So Telugu is my mother tongue, and Kannada is a language that is actually because I converse so much in Kannada, I also write better in Kannada.
Oh,
I've
wow.
read a lot in Kannada, like Dasa Sahitya, especially the devotional poetry, spiritual poetry from a cult of Dasas, Bhakti poetry from Karnataka, basically. That I've read a lot of that poetry, because of which I kind of connect a great deal to Kannada literature as well. And yes, now I'm exploring a little bit of Abhangs, and so a little bit of Maharashtrian culture and Marathi poetry. And I've sung a little bit in the Tamil film industry, because of which a little bit of, very little bit of exposure to the Tamil language as well.
Wow, that's
So
so wonderful. So good, you said growing up, you were waiting to come back from school and do your riyas. Was it at a very young age that you realized that this is your inner calling, this is your passion, this is what you really want to do, even as a profession, or you had no idea about anything of that? You just wanted to do your riyas and be immersed in music for hours. I mean, what was that thought process?
at that time, it was like, well, when I was very small, I was just singing it because it was a very natural thing for me. I mean, it was like everywhere I went, also, my identity came from the fact that I was a singer. So wherever I went, it was invariably I was singing more than I was talking. Even if I was invited to a friend's place or relatives' places or weddings, and so basically singing was like another identity of mine. It was a part of me, basically. And when it came to a phase when I had to take decisions about my career or about my all the decisions in my life were taken keeping in mind that I'm a singer. So I didn't even actually give myself a chance at anything else. I didn't even think of what maybe I should do, pursue this or pursue that. I took up arts because I wanted to have more time I mean, I didn't want to spend too much time for tuitions and studying and stuff like that, so that I could dedicate that time for practice. And apart from that, even like decisions like, I didn't even take up a job which was very consuming. Though I did my master's in English literature, I never really thought of taking up a job or making it as a profession. Or this was just it. Music was just it. And
Coming to masters in English literature, I still remember that, the first time when we were about to go and perform in Blue Frog in Mumbai as a band, and I said, and I think we had already spoken about you having done your masters in English literature, and I was like, Chandana ji, can you please write some introduction for me to say, to announce? You remember? I said,
yeah,
you remember
I,
the room on the
I
side there? I said, can you write something for me, Chandana ji? Because I knew you had a very a flowery command over flowery English. So I was
actually,
very
yeah.
thrilled to
I
get
have only
to
a
know.
manageable vocabulary, actually speaking, because even when I took up literature, it was mostly keeping in mind that someday I would have to, use that master's degree to do something associated with music, like maybe a PhD or something like that. It was not because of the love or whatever for the language, because English was really not the language I was thinking in, or but yes, because I studied it later in life, it helped me a lot. When my Guruji had given me the task of actually translating like Kannada Uga Bhogas or Kannada shlokas written by Dasas, there were about 800 odd Uga Bhogas which had to be translated to English. So
Wow.
when I was assigned this task, that whole whatever little bit of knowledge or idea that I had about the language helped me translate it. So it did come in handy at various stages, but then I'm still a little conscious about my English, honestly. Not as
I
comfortable as I
honestly
am
don't
with the
think you need to
vernacular
be. I
languages.
don't think you really need to be. I mean, you have such great command over it. I mean, so, and I've experienced it firsthand, so that's great. So, would you like to, one, you said you just translated these 800, Kannada compositions into English. So,
Yeah.
did you also, set any melody to them, or were they poems? I mean,
Yeah.
what are those
Uh,
compositions?
so these are actually like shlokas. So they are not in any rhythm, or they are not in any meter. But they are very rich in their the meaning that they contain is actually very, very heart touching. So there are various aspects of bhakti. That's when I was reading those uga bhugas, and when I was researching in order to translate them, to understand what the meaning of those uga bhugas was, I realized that there are so many aspects to bhakti. Devotion just doesn't manifest as just devotion or praising the Lord or asking for. So there are so many aspects to it. Like there is just sankirtana bhakti, where you just chant the Lord's name, and then there is shravana bhakti, where you just listen to somebody chanting, and then you are in the Lord's presence because you're just chanting, you're listening to the chant.
Can you give us some example of it through singing, Chandana ji?
So no, for example, even the small chant like Hare Rama, that itself is sankirtana. Like Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So that
Uh-huh.
is just, it's like a sankirtan. And then there is then there is ninda stuti. There is a way in which you just throw insults at the Lord, and then you instigate him to take care of you. It's, you don't directly go and ask for, you don't directly say, come please take care of me. It's not like that. It's like, what if you don't take care of me, I'll go and pray to the other Lord, you want me to do that? It's almost like a friendly banter kind of a thing. And then there is sakya bhakti, whereas the devotion, that the kind of devotion that you see Hanuman have for Rama, or Uddhava have for Krishna, or Sudama having for Krishna, where they know that he's a peer, he's a friend, but then there is also some sort of an awareness within them that he is a superior friend, somebody whom you can go to. So there are different aspects of bhakti, like even like matru bhakti or vatsalya bhakti, wherein the writer assumes the character of Yashoda. He assumes that he is the mother, he or she, whoever the composer is, they assume the character of the mother and write from a motherly devotion towards Krishna. Like Krishnani Begane Baro, for example, is a composition which is written in Vatsalya Bhakti. It's written
Would
by,
you like to perform that for us, please?
yeah, yeah, sure, definitely. Krishna, 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 Krishna,
Ah.
Krishna, Krishna ni begane baro, Krishna ni begane baro, begane baro, Mogavanne toro, begane baro, Krishna Mogavanne toro, begane baro, Mogavanne toro, Krishna ni begane baro,
Aha.
So,
Some
this is
some more Chandana ji, a little more of that.
mm, ಕಾಲಲ್ಲಿ ಕಿರುಗೆಚ್ಚೆ ನೀಲದ ಬಾವೋಲಿ ಕಾಲಲ್ಲಿ ಕಿರುಗೆಚ್ಚೆ ನೀಲದ ಬಾವೋಲಿ ನೀಲ ವರ್ಣನೆ ನಾಟ್ಯ ಮಾಡೋ ಬಾರೋ ನೀಲ ವರ್ಣನೆ ನಾಟ್ಯ ಮಾಡೋ ಬಾರೋ ಕೃಷ್ಣನಿ ಬೇಗನೆ ಬಾರೋ ಬಾರೋ ಬಾರೋ.
Aha. Kya baat hai, वाह वाह. So amazing as always. Kya baat. So I mean, moving on from Bangalore to Mumbai. So what really triggered that move? Was it any professional aspiration? Was it any family requirement? I mean, what really made you move to Mumbai? And I mean, thank you that you moved to Mumbai. We met. So many of us got to work with you, listen to your incredible talent, and you worked with so many wonderful musicians from the Mumbai industry. I think you also worked with Sonu Nigam and Tofik Bhai, and so many stalwarts also. So I'm so glad you did. So what was the whole idea behind moving to Mumbai?
So I got married in the year 2004, and my husband's posting was in Hyderabad. So we were in Hyderabad for about a year and a half. After which we got a letter one day saying that he got a posting in Mumbai.
अरे
And
वाह.
my first reaction was sheer dilemma that I mean, sheer actually was very scared to move to another city because already having moved from one city to the other, I was facing a lot of trouble because I had difficulty traveling back and forth from Bangalore to Hyderabad. Very often I was not able to do that because sometimes the logistics didn't work. And so I was actually a little more scared now to come to Bombay because I didn't know anybody here and I would have had to start from scratch. And you know how it is, how important it is for artists to have that one constant telephone number. The moment the telephone number changes, it's so, you're almost literally forgotten. So I was a little scared to move, but then it so
And I think
happened that
in those days the portability hadn't come yet. The
no, it
portability of
happened.
numbers. If you
Yes,
move from one state to another, then you had to change your number. Otherwise, you
yes,
had to incur roaming costs.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, that's so true. Now we have like one constant number all over the country, but that's not the case then. And so then once I moved here, I kind of started meeting a lot of people, which I hadn't done ever in my life. So basically, I hadn't really developed the skill at all to be able to go and tell somebody that I'm good at something and I want to sing to you or whatever. So that is something that I had to acquire afresh and kind of go and meet people. But I'm so fortunate that the one of the very first few people that I met was Tawfiq Bhai. So I just walked into NCPA one day and I went to the music department there mainly to get I think a membership of the library, the music library. That's why I went there. But then I walked into the music department and I said, "Can I get Tawfiq Bhai's number?" Because I had heard some of his music and I was thinking maybe I should work with a musician like that. Maybe I should just go and meet him. And that's when I got the number and I made the call to Tawfiq Bhai. And he was such a generous person. He actually he immediately kind of understood what my talent was or what my interests were, and I think I immediately was kind of taken in, and I still date. I'm so grateful that that happened because after that. there were so many musicians that I met through him. One was definitely you, and then I met Ranjit Bhai, and then I met Sanjay Divecha sir. People who became so important in my musical journey later. I think met a lot of people, and he was very generous with that. He was just introducing me to everybody, and he was saying, "There's this new singer. Why don't you just, listen to her?" And so it was. Uh, that's how actually the move happened, and then that's how he came to Bombay.
I'm so
Yeah.
glad that happened because I still remember, this Blue Frog thing, the concert. Tofik Bhai called me and said, there's this opening at Blue Frog. Do you want to do something on Independence Day or something? I don't
Yeah.
remember one of those days. And I
Yeah.
said, yeah, sure. He said, you keep doing fusion or something. So have your band. But I have one singer, vocalist, I have to recommend, and you have to work with her. And I would like her to be in that show. So, so I said, sure, Tofik bhai, a recommendation from you. So he said, number, I'll send you her number, and I think that's how we reached out to each other, and I'm so glad that happened.
Yeah,
So
I'm so glad to be associated with that. I was just, when I spoke to you the other day, I was just thinking of, I was discussing with my husband. I remember the first time I met you and we did the concert, I still hadn't had my son.
yes,
And for the second concert, I just delivered, as in I had my son, and then I brought him. He was a little baby. I brought him along with me, and you guys were so sweet. You were literally babysitting and were literally practicing together. We were doing this
yes.
whole
I think at
circus.
my grandmother's place in Shivaji Park, when
Yeah,
you came with him when he was a few months old, I think.
yeah, exactly. So I have really fond memories, and I'm happy and I'm very lucky that I got to work with musicians who were putting up with all these things. Otherwise, it wouldn't look professional bringing a child to a rehearsal and all of that stuff. But I'm really fortunate that I got to work in spite of that, and
I'm
you're
so glad that he got to hear your music as an infant. All that sanskar of music happened from day one. So I'm so glad it happened that way. So it's so important, growing up, all these sanskars are very important, and listening to your music, I'm sure is he also singing, or is he pursuing music now? I mean,
um, whatever he sings it in sur. But I have somehow not been able to make him sit in a place and sing, make him sing. Uh, he's fond of singing, he sings his songs, but then he's not as interested as I would love him to be. But it's okay. I mean, I guess it's a matter of time. But he's creatively inclined in other things. So I guess each child has some sort of an interest of their own, some talent of their own. So I hope that whatever he's interested in, whatever he's talented in, and I can help him nurture that.
absolutely,
And someday, if
absolutely.
he's interested, he will probably start singing.
Wonderful. So moving on from that, Chandana ji, I wanted to, you've worn so many different hats. Singing light classical, classical, folk, Bollywood, jazz, with with Sanjay Devacha bhai. You have. I think you guys have an album together also, right?
Yeah.
His
So,
album. And I remember one of those pieces that you've sung with him was on repeat in my car for almost a month. And I had
oh,
even called Sanjay ji and told him, I think he's listening. I saw him log in. So I think I'd called him and told him that this one song with Chandana ji and you that I've been listening for a month in my car whenever I drive. I get these jhatkas, as they say, of listening to the same song and on repeat for days together when I really love that song. So could you, present some world music or jazz kind of a composition for us?
see, honestly, you know what, Aditya, I'm not a jazz musician at all. I don't claim to be a jazz musician at all because I know and understand that it is a very, very special genre. And if one were to call themselves a jazz singer, one needs to give in that kind of time and energy and effort and intent, and put in that kind of actually learn it very sincerely. What I only do is I interpret those compositions in swaras, because to me that is the only skill that I have developed. I have just about started trying to understand what the scales are or what harmonies are all about. I'm just trying to get used to it. But then I don't claim to be a jazz singer at all. So actually, I don't. Whatever experimentation I do, it's only of translating the melody that I hear into swaras, which is the way I learn any composition. Basically, whatever composition, it be it a light classical composition, be it an abhang, be it a devanama, be it a Carnatic classical kriti or a varanam or whatever it is uh, it's translating into swaras is how I learn, and that's what I did with these compositions, and that's all I used to do. But coming back to Sanjay sir, I think in my career as a musician, one of the most significant associations that I have had is with Sanjay Devecha sir. Right from the day that I met him, actually the day one, I can say that the education actually started because when I went to his place and he was playing his compositions to me, I realized that there were so many things that I actually didn't understand at all, and I didn't even know. I was not even aware that there are so many types of percussions. There are so many types of rhythms. There are so many types of how they are interpreted. So once I kind of started getting comfortable with those compositions, the learning actually began, and a few lessons I have taken with him directly. Very few lessons, but I can see how much more scope and potential I have that I can learn and acquire in this genre. But other genres I have but just by listening I sing, and I'm a little more confident because they are closer home and they're Indian genres. And even those that I don't really claim that I'm an abhang singer or I'm a tumri singer, I just say that I'm interpreting those compositions because
So
truly.
let's just say you're a fabulous singer. So let's just stick to that.
All right. Okay. So I don't know what I can sing. So the most obvious usually.
I remember one of your videos went really viral when you kind of did some this interpretation of jazz notes and you sang it. I think it went
Yeah.
really viral and it was really loved and well received all over the world. I think a few million views or something like that. I don't remember now, but it was a hugely successful video. So something from that, if you could sing for us and could explain what you've really done in interpreting those notes, that will be great.
Actually, you know what? Any composition, when I try to understand it, I try to figure out the raga, what raga it falls under. But then there were so many compositions when I was listening to in jazz improvisations that I could not really put them into one raga. So when I started thinking in that direction, I said I'll just break free from this whole raga, 7 notes, whatever, and I'll just get into the 12 notes zone wherein I don't restrict myself to any particular single scale. Okay, and I'll just explore the notes. Okay, I mean this is just an extension of
Is it
uh,
called Take Five? Is what that piece was it called Take
that,
Five?
that piece was take five.
I
So
should
what
I
I
should
did.
thank somebody from the audience for mentioning that. I'm able to see the comments. So they said take five,
Yeah.
take five, take five. So thank you.
So what I did was that I had this composition in mind, which kind of fell roughly into Kiravani and Natabhairavi and this kind of a zone. So I thought I'll just make an introduction to it, almost imagining my voice to be some sort of a saxophone, or just imagining that if it were a piano, then how the keys would be just played by the artist. Like I used to watch Michel Camilo just play those introductions like that, and I would think if I can just break free of everything, the sa where it is, and I can just dabble with the notes like that, and that's just a very impromptu a set of notes that I sang. But I don't know. I still don't know, Aditya, why it became viral or why it was liked. But then a lot of people just liked that, and so that was like the introduction was just a bunch of notes that I put together. And it's an introduction, and usually I don't memorize my introduction, but I heard so many people read it that now I've literally memorized it. So that goes, and yeah, and that was of course, sung with Take Five, the composition by Dave Brubeck and Paul Desmond. Actually, so this was also the time when I was trying to work on some parallel tala patterns. So I was thinking how I can, and I was really very interested by what Horatio Hernandez had done in one composition called La Candela, I think. One combination that he did was the clave, which was split as 5 and 12 on one hand, and on the other hand, I think he was doing the divisions of four or something like that. So that's one thing that I had worked on, where I was doing that thing, that thing on one hand. On the other hand, I was doing takadina, 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 takadina. So that was one thing that I had explored. And I had done something in 7 as well, wherein in one hand it was 7 and the other hand it was 14. So it was basically the slower version of this 7. So I was working on this and I was thinking I want to do something with 5. And then, so there is a tala cycle in the Carnatic tradition called Mishra Jhampa, which is a 10 note, 10 count cycle, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And Khanda Chapu, which is the 5 chunk, is 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So I just put the two together and I was wondering if I could do like a parallel pattern. Of course, now I cannot show you because the screen doesn't cover it, or maybe it does, I don't know. So that's what can you see?
Yes.
Or is it, yeah, so that's what I did. And I think it's a slightly higher pitch. Something similar, something I had done. Pasa pasa pani pasa pasa pani pasa pasa pani pasa 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 ga mama mama ga pada ni sa ni ga ni sa ni sa ni ma pa pasa ga mama mama ga pada ni sa ni sa ni ma pa ni ga ni sa sada sada ma pada ni ni pa ga mama pada sa sa ma ri ga ma pa ma pada ni ni sada sada ma pada ni ni pa ga mama pada sa sa ma ri ma ni ma pa ga ma pada na ma pada na ma ga ri ga ma ri sa ni sa ri sa ni ri sa ni da sa ni da ni ri ga ri ri sa ni sa pa ma ri sa ni sa da pa ma ri sa ni ni sa pa ma ri sa ni da pa ma ri sa ni da pa ma ri sa ni sa ni da pa ma ri sa ni sa ri ga ma pa ni da ni da da ni da da ni da da pa da ma da pa da ga da pa da ri da pa da sa da pa ma ri sa ni sa ni sa ri ga ma pa da ni da pa da ni sa da da ni da ni sa ni da pa da ni sa ni da ni sa ni da ni sa ga ti sa ni da ga ti sa ni da da ri sa ni da ri sa ni da pa sa ni da pa da ni sa ni da pa ti sa ni da pa ni da ni da pa sa ni da pa ma ni da pa ma pa sa ni da pa ma sa ni da pa ma ga ri sa ni da ri sa ni da pa da pa ma ga ri sa 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 ni sa 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 ni. This is something that I had done, and I guess maybe a lot of factors kind of came together, and that's why a lot of people liked it. I really still don't know why people liked it, but yeah.
Wow, this is, I mean, I'm sure I know, I think I know why people liked it, because it's so incredible. And, if someone is as blessed as you are with so much of knowledge, so much of hard work, I think we all know why people liked it. So I'm glad they did and they appreciated it, and you deserved it. So, thank you for attempting to do something like this, which really, really got everybody to love it and enjoy it so much. So next, I would like. So when was that particular moment in your life? When you said, okay, this I'm going to do as a profession. I mean, all along it remained a passion, your first love, all along, uh, moving from one city to another, and, going back and forth to your teacher, gurus in Bangalore, and studying with them, and from Hyderabad and Mumbai, and all that has continued, for
Yeah.
years. But at some point, I mean, did you even realize when it turned into a profession? I mean, for all of us, it is always, it's always our passion, right? It's always our
Yeah.
first love. But it's sometimes hard to pinpoint that moment where we realize that, okay, this is going to be our profession as well, you know.
So actually, like I was telling you, uh, it was a very, very significant part of me, and I also started performing very, very young, in the sense I was maybe 13, 14 years old when I kind of started doing the small little concerts. And some concerts I would get paid as well. And so that's when, it's like, it's mostly they would give it like some sort of like just as a blessing. And some places they would actually hire you for a concert. They'd say, we want you to come and sing, and this is what we will be giving you. And at some point, it just became I was just earning through it, and then when I started college again, I was again singing, I was doing concerts. And also I'm sure that is the case with you as well, Aditya. I mean, because you also started performing very young. So it just happened naturally. And then I didn't even think my father was making sure that I was not spending that money, but he would make sure that I'd go and deposit it in a bank. And when I started my graduation, that's when I started doing a lot of recordings. Uh, and I used to sing a lot for dance concerts as well. And it was
This was in Bangalore. This was in
Bangalore.
Bangalore.
This was in Bangalore, yeah, around 97, 98. And when I was doing it was actually very lucrative doing the recordings, and being almost in and out of studios and stuff like that. But then there came a point when my Guruji R.K. Srikantan sir told me that, you keep one thing, that you singing Carnatic classical music, and this is your thing. Or you say Carnatic classical music is one aspect of it, but I'm also a recording artist. I also do, I also sing some light classical stuff. I also sing some film stuff and all that. So you have one thing, any one thing, whatever you choose is okay with me, but you should stick to that. So then I chose to stick to the Carnatic classical, because he said that otherwise what happens is you'll get diversified. Your focus will get kind of diversified. So he said you have to focus on one thing. So then, from I think my 17th year onwards till about my 24th year, I didn't do too much of other stuff. I was focusing only on Carnatic classical music, and I also gave up um, some really big offers, I must say, to sing in the movies and stuff like that. I just gave them up because I said, okay, if I don't have the permission of my gurus, there's no point in just doing it like that. And then after that, I think maybe once I moved to Bombay is when actually I started exploring uh, different genres, and what I had been listening to, all that kind of knowledge helped me. It came in handy. And then I started also learning a few things here and there, and that's when uh, it happened. But as a profession, it's just been all along. It's just been all. It was never like a conscious as in that this is it. This was all that there was. Though I did work in an office for 3 years. Sorry, 3 months. And that's all I could last. I had to, like, after that I had to one day say I can't do this anymore.
That's what I mean. So as a as a professional, and someone doing this full time, as you said, it's difficult sometimes to realize whether this is something I can make a livelihood of, or
Yeah,
whether I can do substantially well financially to you know to
yeah.
to move on with life. And so did you face any challenges as professionally? Did you feel at any point of time that maybe I should just do it for a passion? Or I'm glad you didn't do that, but I mean, there are these moments, we all as musicians go through, and we experience those challenges, those hardships, and sometimes we all wonder whether this is something we want to pursue, even though it's our passion. Sometimes one has to be practical. I know a lot of musicians, young musicians who started out, brilliantly, and they're still brilliant, but then they chose to pursue academics or a corporate job, or a lot of musicians do that. So any hardships in particular, sometimes.
Actually, there were many times when this thing had happened. I guess, especially life in Bombay cannot, is not really easy and stuff like that. And I was trying to get a foothold, though I was singing. I was not singing as much as I could have been singing. So there came a time when I was not singing as much, but God has been so kind and so generous, and I must say with His grace, because I I was just introduced to this another parallel genre, I mean parallel profession called voiceovers. I didn't even go looking for it. It just came and kind of embraced me. Like I would go to people asking for work to sing, and they would say, "Acha, you speak both Telugu and Kannada. Okay, so why don't you try doing these, voiceovers, and why don't you try these ads?" And it was all on the job training. I mean, I was very bad as a voice artist, but I learned everything on the job, in the sense that I would just get into the studio and I would have my supervisors literally yell at me to ask me to do it the right way. So it took a lot of hard work, I must say, to kind of do that. But I was okay doing that for a period of time. And after about 7 or 8 months into the voiceovers, I think I got pretty good at it, because my language was anyways pretty decent. It's just the expressions that I had to learn how to say and how to do it. And I managed to do that also parallelly alongside music. But what I must say is, every time, I mean, no, even if I was facing a very low period, I, I had faith in me that the talent that I have, or the hard, or because the practice that I did was, I did it with a lot of sincerity, with a lot of dedication. I used to never cut any corners there. I mean, never used to find shortcuts. If I had to learn a raga, I used to dedicate, like I used to have these timetables where I would say, January, I'll be practicing Shankara. The whole of January, I would listen to only Shankara till it completely got into my system. Then February would be for Todi. And then, next. So I would have these timetables, and I would have targets. Like literally, like I was working like an office, like I used to have this composition should be learned by the end of this week. And with respect to rhythm, this is what I must have achieved, or I must have got. So I had small little targets like that, and I used to do a very systematic riyaz. So I used to think that the riyaz that I have put in is definitely going to take care of me. And now it's almost like riyaz personified is going to take care of you, because you have given it so much of sincerity and whatever. So I used to be confident that this is a tide which is going to pass, and then eventually I'm going to again, be performing and singing and all of that. So there used to be those few, like nothing, when I was not doing anything respect to music, but I would sing and practice every day. Because that is one thing my dad and my Guruji, both of them had asked me to do. Then I was my Guruji, H.S. Sudhindra sir, to whom I owe a great deal of myself and my music. He never took a rupee from me. All he said was that practice every day. And even my dad, the day he got me married and he was sending me off, he never said, what, he didn't even say, take care of yourself, take care of your, nothing. He said, practice every day. One Varnam, one Kriti. Every day, one Varnam, one Kriti. Whether you have a concert, whether you don't have a concert, that much you have to do every day. So I remember these things are very, very important.
This is so amazing. I mean, I wish we could keep to talk to you for a longer time. But before we let you go, Chandana ji, we would like to listen to maybe a abhang, and what has Maharashtra inspired you with. So we would like to listen to some light classical, if you may. and I would like to thank you for this wonderful conversation. What a wonderful experience it has been, and what a glorious journey for you. You know, this has been, and may God always bless you. And on behalf of all the wonderful viewers that we have who have logged in, and Jhankar Foundation from Cincinnati, I would like to express our heartfelt gratitude for your time and for your effort in being with us today. And thank you so much for doing this, Chandanaji. We will cherish this for years and decades to come.
Thank you so much, Aditya. It's really been such an honor and a privilege, like I was saying, to be on your show. And yeah, I hope to just continue this journey of music just as long as I'm alive. I would just like to sing, and I'd like to perform, sing, record everything, and do everything related to music. And that's why I envision my life to be
God
yours.
bless you with
I hope we get to
all that
perform
you wish for.
together.
It's been a while since we performed, so hopefully this season, God willing, everything normalizes. Let's hope everything we are able to
Yeah,
share the stage very soon. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. And thank you once again. So any abhang uh,
yeah, I'll see you in
will,
Abhang, and
will be
I can,
great. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Thank you. Also, before I would like to thank all the viewers for joining us in the green room. Thank you for all the wonderful support that you all have provided. This show gives me a lot of strength. Also, thanks to Jankar for collaborating for this initiative. Without them, it wouldn't have been possible. And all the viewers, everybody, all the kindness, love, and blessings. Please keep supporting. Next week, also, we will be back with another young Sarangi maestro, Harsh Narayan, the grandson of legendary Pandit Ram Narayan ji, who will be with us for this conversation in the green room. And now it's all over to you, Chandana ji.
yeah, sure. Mm.
So, we've got a suggestion, Chandana ji, that there was an abhang you sang for the rain tree or something. Chandana ji,
Panduranga. Yeah, sorry.
we have a suggestion that you had sung some abhang for the rain tree.
Uh, I guess it was.
It's okay, whichever you feel like presenting. No worries.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. I don't remember which one.
No, it's completely fine. Whichever you
Mm.
feel like presenting.
Panduranga. Ranga. Ranga. Vithala. 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 Panduranga, Panduranga. Panduranga, Panduranga. Madha Prabhu Hare Hare. Panduranga, Panduranga. Madha Prabhu Hare Hare. Panduranga, Panduranga. Panduranga, Panduranga. Panduranga, Panduranga. Panduranga, Panduranga. Panduranga, Panduranga. Vithala, 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 Vithala. तुम्ही मला जीव पांडुरंग पांडुरंग 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 तुम्ही मला जीवा Panduranga, 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 Maja Prabhu Hare Hare, Panduranga, Panduranga, Maja Prabhu Hare Hare, Panduranga, Panduranga, Vithala, 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 Vithala.
One more quick suggestion. Aishwarya Natarajan has written saying, tell her Aishwarya says it and she will remember the abhang.
Okay. अवघा रंग एकच झाला. Oh, thank you, Aishwarya. So Aishwarya is a very, very dear friend of mine, and I feel very shy saying this, but she's actually managing my work for some time now. So she's actually a manager, but then our friendship and our relationship is far beyond that. So I'm extremely thankful to her that she is logged in, and yeah, this is for you, Aishwarya.
She's been super active with all the wonderful comments from her.
Okay. I hope I don't sing the lyrics wrong because I don't have the lyrics with me, but yeah. पाहते पाहणे गेले दूरी, पाहते पाहणे गेले दूरी, म्हणे चुकियाची महरी, अवघा रंग एक झाला, 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 रंगी रंगला श्रीरंग, अवघा रंग एक झाला, अवघा रंग एक झाला. मी तो पण गेले वाया, पाहते पंढरीचा राया, मी तो पण गेले वाया, पाहता पंढरीचा राया, अवघा रंग एक झाला, अवघा रंग एक झाला, अवघा रंग एक झाला, अवघा रंग एक झाला. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. I didn't get the lyrics right, but I had just
so wonderful. Thank you once again for this beautiful, beautiful conversation and joining us in the green room. And thank you again, Chandana ji. Thank you all the viewers, and we'll see you next Saturday, same time. Stay safe, stay blessed, everyone. Namaste.
Thank you so much.